The alarm bell screamed through the research station as another ship exploded in the distance. Dr. Alex Bennett pressed his face against the observation window and watched the debris scatter across the dark void of space. That made it the fourth vessel this month to get too close to the planet below. The massive creatures on Titan's End had claimed another victim. Another fool who thought they could tame the dreadnoughts, Commander Tal muttered behind him. The reptilian officer's scales shifted from green to a worried brown as he watched the wreckage drift past their station. When will these species learn that some things are meant to be left alone? Alex turned away from the window and studied the data streaming across the holographic displays. The creatures down there were unlike anything he had seen in his 20 years of studying alien life forms. They stood nearly 200 meters tall, their bodies a horrifying mix of organic tissue and mechanical parts. Steam vented from their joints while electricity crackled along their spines. Each one weighed more than a small city and could move with surprising speed across the barren landscape. How many species have tried to make contact? Alex asked, pulling up the historical records on his tablet. Dr. Kreese, a blue-skinned Vorthak researcher, shook his head sadly. 17 different civilizations have attempted to study or capture these beasts over the past 1,000 years. Every single expedition ended in complete disaster. The creatures show no mercy and no intelligence beyond basic hunting instincts. Alex scrolled through the footage from previous encounters. The dreadnoughts moved in groups, their massive feet crushing everything in their path. When ships approached, they would emit some kind of energy pulse that disabled all electronics within a 5-kilometer radius. Then they would attack with focused electromagnetic beams that could slice through the strongest hull materials known to science. What about communication attempts? Alex asked, noting the strange patterns in the creature's movements. Commander Tal's tail twitched with annoyance. Communication? These are mindless killing machines. They consume metal and energy. Like primitive beasts. The only communication they understand is violence. But Alex saw something different in the recordings. The way the creatures positioned themselves suggested coordination. When one dreadnought encountered a threat, others would arrive within minutes, taking specific positions around the target. Their attacks were not random but followed clear tactical patterns. Most telling of all, they never fought each other despite competing for the same resources. Look at this footage from the Hegemony expedition 50 years ago, Alex said, projecting the image onto the main screen. See how the lead creature stops its attack when the ship's engines shut down? It's not just reacting to threats. It's making decisions based on the situation. Dr. Kreese examined the video with his large compound eyes. You're seeing patterns where none exist? The creature stopped because the ship was no longer a threat. Simple predator behavior. Alex highlighted several more clips showing similar restraint. In each case, the dreadnoughts had opportunities to destroy helpless vessels, but chose not to when the ships posed no immediate danger. This was not the behavior of mindless beasts, but of intelligent beings following some kind of code. Their communication system is what's causing the problems, Alex realized, studying the sonic analysis reports. These subsonic frequencies they emit don't just disable our technology. They're designed to interact with nervous systems similar to their own. For most species, exposure to these sounds causes immediate neural damage. The research team gathered around Alex's workstation as he pulled up the biological data. Every species that had attempted contact with the dreadnoughts shared similar neural structures. Their brains processed sound waves in ways that made the creature's natural communication methods deadly to them. But humans process sound differently, Alex continued, his excitement growing. Our auditory systems evolved in a much noisier environment. We can handle sound levels and frequencies that would kill most other species. Commander Tal's scales shifted to a deep red, indicating extreme alarm. You're not seriously suggesting what I think you're suggesting. Alex looked up from his tablet with determination in his eyes. I'm suggesting that humans might be the only species in the galaxy capable of surviving direct communication with these creatures. Everyone else sees them as monsters because they literally cannot survive the encounter long enough to learn otherwise. Dr. Kreese began calculating probabilities on his own device. Even if your theory about human hearing is correct, the electromagnetic interference would destroy any equipment you carried. You would be completely helpless down there. Not necessarily, Alex replied, pulling up technical specifications for human-designed shielding systems. Human technology is built to withstand electromagnetic interference in ways that most alien tech is not. Our computers use different principles that are more resistant to disruption. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For over 1,000 years, the galaxy had assumed the dreadnoughts were unstoppable killing machines. Entire sectors had been declared off-limits because of their presence. Trade routes had been abandoned, and planets had been evacuated rather than face these creatures. "This is madness," Commander Tal said finally. "You're talking about deliberately approaching the most dangerous predators in known space, based on a theory about human brain structure." Alex smiled grimly. Sometimes madness is just another word for thinking differently than everyone else. Every species that has encountered these creatures has approached them the same way, with the same assumptions and the same technology. They all failed because they were fundamentally incompatible with what they were trying to study. Dr. Kreese activated his emergency protocols. "I cannot authorize such a mission. The risk to station personnel would be unacceptable." "Then don't authorize it," Alex said, already planning his next move. "But don't try to stop me either. I came here to study these creatures and I intend to do exactly that. The only question is whether you want to help me do it safely or watch me try it alone." The debate continued for hours, but Alex had already made his decision. Somewhere on the planet below, creatures that had been isolated for millennia were waiting for someone brave enough or foolish enough to try speaking their language. Every other species in the galaxy had declared it impossible. That just meant it was time for humans to prove them wrong once again. The engineering bay buzzed with activity as Alex supervised the construction of his survival suit. 3 different alien species worked together to create something that had never been built before, a protective system designed to keep a human alive in direct contact with a dreadnought. The irony was not lost on him that it took the combined knowledge of multiple civilizations to protect one supposedly primitive human. The electromagnetic shielding is rated for exposure levels 3 times higher than anything we've recorded from the creatures, Chief Engineer Voss explained while adjusting the suit's power systems. The insectoid engineer's multiple arms moved with practiced precision as he calibrated each component. "But there's no way to test it against the real thing without actually encountering a dreadnought." Alex stepped into the bulky suit and felt the weight of the protection systems settle around his body. The helmet alone contained more advanced technology than most starships carried, all designed to filter and process the deadly communication signals that had killed so many others. "What about the translation equipment?" Dr. Kreese reluctantly handed over a modified universal translator, its circuits heavily shielded and reinforced. "This is the most advanced communication device in our inventory. It can process over 4,000 known languages and adapt to new ones in real time. But it has never been tested against subsonic frequencies of this magnitude." Commander Tal paced nervously around the engineering bay, his scales constantly shifting between orange and red. "The evacuation protocols are in place. If this goes wrong, we'll retreat to minimum safe distance and report your findings to the Galactic Council. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." "I'm not planning to sacrifice anything," Alex said, testing the suit's mobility systems. "I'm planning to come back with enough information to change how the galaxy views these creatures. Every simulation shows they're not mindless killers. They're trying to communicate, and everyone else is too afraid to listen." The preparation took 3 days. Alex studied every piece of available data about the dreadnoughts, memorizing their movement patterns and behavioral responses. He practiced with the translation equipment until he could operate it instinctively, even under extreme stress. Most importantly, he worked with the medical team to prepare his body for exposure to subsonic frequencies that no human had ever experienced. The psychological effects are unknown, Dr. Kreese warned as they made final adjustments to the suit's systems. The subsonic communication might cause hallucinations, memory loss, or complete mental breakdown. We have no way to predict how human consciousness will respond to these signals. Alex sealed his helmet and activated the suit's internal systems. All readings showed green across the board. The electromagnetic shielding was functioning perfectly, and the translation equipment was ready to process whatever the creatures might say to him. There's only one way to find out if this will work. The descent to Titan's End took 6 hours in the specially modified landing pod. Alex watched through the reinforced viewport as the planet grew larger below him. The surface was a wasteland of twisted metal and crystal formations scarred by centuries of dreadnought activity. Massive footprints marked the landscape like craters, some filled with strange metallic pools that reflected the distant star's light. Landing in 30 seconds, the automated system announced. Atmospheric readings are within acceptable parameters. For human survival, electromagnetic interference is minimal at current location. Alex felt the pod touch down with a soft thud. Through the external cameras, he could see the barren landscape stretching in all directions. No sign of the creatures yet, but they would come. Every landing on this planet had attracted their attention within minutes. "I'm outside the pod," Alex reported through his communication system. "The suit is functioning normally. Beginning search for contact opportunities." The ground beneath his feet was covered in a fine metallic dust that crunched with each step. Strange formations rose from the surface like abstract sculptures, their surfaces smooth and reflective. Alex realized these might be some kind of dreadnought construction, though their purpose was unclear. The first sign of their approach was a vibration through the ground. Alex felt it through his boots before he heard anything, a rhythmic pounding that grew stronger with each passing moment. He activated his suit's recording systems and prepared the translation equipment for first contact. The dreadnought appeared over a ridge about 2 kilometers away, its massive form silhouetted against the pale sky. Alex had seen them in recordings countless times, but nothing had prepared him for the reality of facing one in person. The creature was a mountain of metal and flesh, its movements creating small earthquakes with every step. "Contact established," Alex reported, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "The creature is approaching my position. Beginning communication protocols." The dreadnought stopped about 500 meters away and tilted its massive head toward Alex. For a moment, there was complete silence except for the hum of the creature's internal systems. Then it began to speak. The subsonic frequencies hit Alex like a physical blow. Even through the suit's shielding, he could feel the vibrations in his bones and teeth. The translation equipment screamed with feedback as it tried to process signals unlike anything in its database. Alex gritted his teeth and forced himself to remain standing as the creature's voice washed over him. Unknown contact protocol detected. The translator finally managed to process. Identity verification required. State your purpose and origin. Alex nearly fell over with shock. The creature was not roaring or threatening him. It was asking questions. He activated his own communication system and hoped the translation would work in reverse. "I am Alex Bennett, representative of the human species," he said. His words converted into subsonic frequencies by the suit's systems. "I come seeking communication and understanding between our peoples." The dreadnought's massive head tilted further, and Alex could see what looked like optical sensors focusing on him. The creature took a step closer, and Alex fought every instinct. That told him to run? This was the moment that would determine whether his theory was correct or whether he would become just another casualty of humanity's reckless curiosity. "Human," the creature said, the word carrying undertones of surprise and something that might have been hope. "You can hear us, you can speak." After so many failures, finally, someone who can survive the conversation. The conversation lasted for hours. Alex stood in the shadow of the massive dreadnought, his suit systems working overtime to process the creature's subsonic communication. What he learned changed everything he thought he knew about these beings. We, called the Keepers, the creature explained, its voice a deep rumble that Alex felt in his chest. We maintain the balance of this world and guard the knowledge of those who came before. Every species that has approached us has died from our words alone. You are the first to survive our greeting. Alex adjusted his translation equipment as more dreadnoughts began to appear on the horizon. They moved with purpose, converging on his location from all directions. Instead of fear, Alex felt excitement. He was witnessing something that no other being in the galaxy had ever seen. Why do you attack ships that come here? Alex asked, recording everything for the research team back on the station. The Keeper's optical sensors focused on Alex with what seemed like surprise. Attack? We do not attack. We speak and they die. We move to help and they flee. We offer knowledge and they destroy themselves trying to escape. Tell me, human, why do your kind send vessels that cannot survive basic conversation? Alex realized the tragic misunderstanding that had persisted for over 1,000 years. The dreadnoughts were not aggressive predators but frustrated would-be communicators. Every ship that had approached them had been destroyed not by hostile intent but by the fundamental incompatibility between their biology and that of other species. My people and others cannot survive your natural communication, Alex explained. The frequencies you use cause neural damage to most species. They think you are trying to kill them. The Keeper's massive form seemed to sag with what Alex interpreted as sadness. We have been alone for so long, waiting for someone who could hear us properly. The others who built these bodies promised that contact would come, but generation after generation has passed with nothing but fear and death. More dreadnoughts had gathered around them now, forming a loose circle about 1 kilometer away. Alex could see the differences between them for the first time. Some were larger, others had different configurations of mechanical parts. They were individuals, not identical copies of the same design. Who built your bodies? Alex asked, noting the mix of organic and mechanical components. The ancients, the Keeper replied. Our original forms were small and fragile. When the great catastrophe came, they transferred our consciousness into these shells to preserve our knowledge and protect this world. We have been waiting ever since for someone capable of understanding our purpose. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The dreadnoughts were not natural creatures, but the preserved consciousness of an ancient civilization. Their aggressive behavior was actually desperate attempts to communicate with anyone who might understand their mission. What knowledge do you guard? Alex asked, though he suspected the answer would be significant. The Keeper gestured with one massive arm toward the strange metallic structures scattered across the landscape. The history of this galaxy, the location of lost worlds, the secrets of technologies that could transform civilizations. We are living libraries, but our books are written in a language that kills those who try to read them. Alex began to understand the magnitude of what he had discovered. The dreadnoughts were not obstacles to galactic progress, but potential keys to unlocking mysteries that had puzzled scientists for millennia. Their isolation had been enforced by biology, not choice. Could you modify your communication to be less harmful to other species? Alex asked. The Keeper's response was immediate and tragic. We have tried for centuries to speak more softly, but this is the only voice we have. The ancients designed these bodies to survive in extreme conditions. Our communication systems are part of our basic functions. We cannot change them without losing ourselves. Alex realized that his role had evolved from simple first contact to something far more important. He was not just a researcher, but a bridge between two incompatible forms of life. The galaxy had spent 1,000 years running from the dreadnoughts, when it should have been finding ways to safely communicate with them. I want to learn more, Alex said, activating his suit's extended recording systems. Will you teach me about your knowledge? The Keeper's response was enthusiastic, causing small earthquakes as the creature moved closer. Yes, finally, someone who asks the right questions. Come, we will show you the memory vaults. The other dreadnoughts began to move, creating a protective formation around Alex as they traveled across the landscape. Their destination was a massive structure that Alex had mistaken for a natural formation. As they approached, he realized it was actually a building constructed on a scale appropriate for beings hundreds of meters tall. "This is the archive," the keeper explained as they entered the structure. "Every piece of knowledge our predecessors gathered is stored here. Star charts showing the location of habitable worlds, technological blueprints that could revolutionize energy production, historical records of civilizations that disappeared before your species even existed." The interior of the archive was filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. Alex realized these were data storage devices, each one containing information that could advance galactic civilization by centuries. The dreadnoughts were not just preserving knowledge, but actively maintaining and updating it. "Why haven't you shared this with the galaxy?" Alex asked. "How?" The keeper replied with obvious frustration. "Every species that approaches us dies before we can explain. We have watched civilizations rise and fall, knowing we could help them but unable to make contact. You are the first being in 1,000 years who has survived long enough to ask what we are trying to say." Alex felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He was not just making first contact with an alien species, but discovering a treasure trove of knowledge that could benefit every civilization in the galaxy. The dreadnoughts had been waiting for someone like him, someone whose biology allowed them to survive the conversation long enough to understand. "I need to return to my people and explain what I've learned," Alex said. "But I want to come back. We need to establish permanent communication between your kind and the rest of the galaxy." The keeper's optical sensors brightened with what Alex interpreted as joy. "Yes, you will be our speaker, the one who translates our words for those who cannot hear them directly. Through you, we can finally share what we have protected for so long." As Alex began his journey back to the landing pod, surrounded by beings that the galaxy had feared for centuries, he realized that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons, but their ability to adapt to situations that others found impossible. Sometimes being called crazy was just another way of saying, you were brave enough to try something that everyone else had given up on. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of Alex's initial report. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the orbital station above Titan's End, their faces showing mixtures of disbelief, fear, and desperate hope. The impossible had happened, and no one quite knew how to respond. "Let me understand this correctly," Council Leader Vex said, her tentacles writhing with nervous energy. "You are claiming that the dreadnoughts are not hostile predators but preserved consciousness of an ancient civilization trying to communicate?" Alex stood before the assembled delegates, still wearing his modified suit, though the helmet was now retracted. "That's exactly what I'm claiming. Every ship that approached them was destroyed not by aggression but by the fundamental incompatibility between their communication methods and the biology of other species. They've been trying to make contact for over 1,000 years." The hegemony representative, a tall being with crystalline skin, projected holographic data into the center of the chamber. "The economic implications alone are staggering. If these creatures possess the knowledge they claim, we could solve energy crises, locate new habitable worlds, and advance our technology by centuries." "Assuming they're telling the truth," growled the Corvan delegate, his fur bristling with suspicion, "this could be an elaborate trap. The dreadnoughts might be using this human to lower our defenses before launching a coordinated attack." Alex activated his recording equipment and played back segments of his conversations with the keepers. The subsonic frequencies filled the chamber, causing several delegates to cover their ears or activate protective systems. "These are not the sounds of deception," Alex said. "This is the voice of a people who have been isolated and desperate for contact." Dr. Kreese, now serving as the official research representative, presented his analysis of the communication patterns. "The linguistic structures are consistent with advanced civilizations. The mathematical concepts they reference are beyond our current understanding. Either they are genuine repositories of ancient knowledge or they are far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates argued for immediate military action, fearing that the dreadnoughts might be planning an invasion. Others wanted to exploit the situation, seeing an opportunity to gain advanced technology before their rivals. A few, led by the Vorthak delegation, advocated for extreme caution. "We need to establish formal protocols for ongoing communication," Alex insisted. "The Keepers have agreed to work with human intermediaries to share their knowledge with the galaxy. This is an opportunity we cannot afford to waste." Commander Tal, now serving as the military liaison, raised concerns about security. "If these creatures are as powerful as they appear, what guarantee do we have that they won't turn hostile once they have a way to communicate with the broader galaxy?" Alex thought about his time with the Keepers, remembering their obvious loneliness and desperate desire for contact. They've had the power to destroy any ship that approached them for centuries. If they wanted to conquer the galaxy, they would have done it long ago. They're not looking for conflict. They're looking for purpose. The Council voted to establish a joint research initiative with human leadership. Alex would return to Titans, and with a team of specialists to begin the process of cataloging and translating the Keeper's knowledge. The project would be supervised by representatives from all major galactic civilizations. "There's one more thing," Alex said as the session was concluding. "The Keepers have identified other locations in the galaxy where similar repositories might exist. If we can establish communication protocols here, we might be able to make contact with other preserved civilizations." The implications sent ripples of excitement through the chamber. The discovery of the Keepers might not be an isolated incident, but the key to unlocking an entire network of ancient knowledge and preserved consciousness scattered across the galaxy. 3 weeks later, Alex returned to Titan's End with a team of 12 specialists from 6 different species. The landing was different this time, with the Keepers actively guiding their ships to safe landing zones and providing protection from the planet's harsh environment. "Welcome back, Speaker," the Keeper said as Alex disembarked from the transport. "We have been preparing for your return. Many of our kind wish to participate in the knowledge sharing." Alex introduced his team to the assembled dreadnoughts, watching as beings who had been feared throughout the galaxy proved to be patient teachers and eager students. The language barriers were significant, but the translation equipment designed by human engineers was adapting quickly to the subsonic communication patterns. "We've prepared a demonstration," the Keeper announced, leading the team to a new section of the archive. "One of your kind mentioned energy production as a priority. Concern, we have technologies that might be helpful." The demonstration was spectacular. The Keepers activated ancient machinery that converted raw matter into pure energy with incredible efficiency. The process was clean, producing no waste or harmful byproducts. Alex realized he was witnessing technology that could solve the energy needs of entire civilizations. "This is just the beginning," the Keeper explained. "We have similar solutions for food production, faster-than-light travel, and planetary terraforming. The knowledge has been waiting for someone who could understand and apply it." Dr. Kreese worked frantically to record everything, his multiple eyes tracking data streams that would take months to fully analyze. The implications are staggering. This single demonstration could transform how we power our cities and spacecraft. As the days passed, Alex found himself becoming more than just a translator. He was becoming a bridge between 2 completely different ways of thinking about the universe. The Keepers understood concepts that would take other species decades to grasp, while his team brought fresh perspectives on problems the ancient civilization had never considered. "You are not just learning from us," the Keeper observed during one of their sessions. "You are teaching us as well. Your species approaches problems in ways we never imagined. This exchange benefits both our peoples." Alex realized that the relationship between humans and the Keepers was evolving into something unprecedented in galactic history. It was not just about accessing ancient knowledge, but about creating a new form of cooperation between radically different forms of consciousness. We want to establish permanent representation here, Alex announced during his next report to the Council. Not just for research purposes, but to create a lasting partnership. The Keepers are willing to share their knowledge, but they want to be active participants in galactic civilization, not just passive sources of information. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every major civilization wanted to send representatives to Titan's End, the planet that had been avoided for centuries was suddenly the most important location in the galaxy. Alex smiled as he realized that sometimes the most frightening obstacles were actually the greatest opportunities waiting to be discovered. 5 years after first contact, the human Keepa embassy on Titan's End had become the most important diplomatic facility in the galaxy. Alex stood in the newly constructed observation deck, watching as ships from dozens of civilizations landed and departed in carefully coordinated patterns. The planet that had once been a forbidden zone was now a hub of interstellar cooperation. "The morning briefing is ready," his assistant Tom announced, approaching with a tablet full of reports. Tom was one of 50 humans now working permanently on Titan's End, all specially trained to communicate with the Keepers and serve as intermediaries for other species. Alex reviewed the day's agenda as he walked toward the main conference center. 3 new star systems had been discovered using Keeper navigation data, 2 of them containing habitable worlds. The energy technology shared by the Keepers was being implemented across 12 different civilizations, reducing resource conflicts and improving living standards for billions of beings. "The Corvan delegation is particularly excited about the terraforming proposals," Tom continued. "They have 17 worlds that could be made habitable using the atmospheric processors the Keepers designed." The conference center was a marvel of engineering, built to accommodate both human-scale beings and the massive Keepers. Advanced acoustic systems allowed for real-time translation between subsonic frequencies and conventional speech, making direct communication possible for the first time in galactic history. "Good morning, everyone," Alex addressed the assembled delegates as he entered the main chamber. Representatives from over 30 species filled the scaled seating areas, while 3 Keepers participated through specialized communication arrays. "Today, we will discuss the implementation of the faster-than-light communication network," Alex announced. "The Keepers have provided us with the technical specifications for quantum entanglement, communicators that could connect every major civilization in the galaxy." The implications were revolutionary. Instead of messages taking months or years to travel between star systems, instantaneous communication would be possible across unlimited distances. Trade, diplomacy, and emergency coordination would be transformed. "The energy requirements are significant," noted the hegemony representative. "But with the new power generation systems, this project is feasible." One of the Keepers, who had chosen the designation teacher for interactions with other species, addressed the assembly directly. "We are pleased to share this technology. For too long, civilizations have been isolated by the vast distances between stars. Communication networks will bring understanding and cooperation." Alex smiled as he watched the delegates work together to plan the implementation. Species that had been suspicious of each other for centuries were now collaborating on projects that would benefit everyone. The Keepers had not just shared their knowledge, but had somehow inspired a new era of galactic cooperation. "There's another matter to discuss," Alex said, activating a holographic display. "The Keepers have identified 47 other locations in the galaxy where similar repositories might exist. Some may contain other preserved civilizations, while others might be automated archives." The excitement in the chamber was palpable. The discovery of the Keepers had been just the beginning. Across the galaxy, other treasures of knowledge and technology were waiting to be found by those brave enough to look for them. "We propose a joint exploration initiative," Alex continued. "Human teams will lead the initial contact attempts, given our unique ability to survive high-intensity communication. Other species will provide specialized expertise for different types of discoveries." The vote was unanimous. The success on Titan's End had proven that humanity's seemingly reckless approach to dangerous situations could yield incredible results. Other species were eager to support human-led exploration teams in exchange for access to whatever knowledge might be discovered. After the formal session ended, Alex walked through the embassy's memorial garden. Monuments honored the crews of ships that had been lost trying to communicate with the keepers before the breakthrough. Their sacrifice had not been in vain, but it served as a reminder of how much misunderstanding had shaped galactic history. "You seem thoughtful today," Teacher observed, approaching through the garden's specialized walkways designed for beings of massive scale. "I was thinking about how close we came to never making contact," Alex replied. "If humans had been more cautious, if we had accepted the conventional wisdom about the dreadnoughts, none of this would have happened." Teacher's optical sensors focused on Alex with what he had learned to recognize as amusement. "Your species has a gift for attempting the impossible. Other beings see obstacles and turn away. Humans see obstacles and look for ways around them." Alex nodded, understanding the truth of the observation. Every major human achievement had involved someone refusing to accept that something was impossible. From the first attempts at flight to the colonization of hostile worlds, humanity had progressed by ignoring the wisdom of more cautious minds. "The galaxy is changing because of what we've built here," Alex said, gesturing toward the bustling embassy complex. "Species that have been enemies for centuries are working together. Technologies that could solve countless problems are being shared freely. Trade routes that were considered too dangerous are becoming safe passages. And it all began with one human who was willing to have a conversation with a creature that everyone else feared," Teacher replied. "Your people do not dominate through conquest but through understanding. This is a form of leadership that the galaxy has never seen before." As the day ended, Alex stood once again in the observation deck, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. Each point of light represented worlds that might contain wonders waiting to be discovered. The keepers had shown that the universe was full of intelligence and knowledge, hidden by barriers of biology and communication rather than genuine hostility. His communication device chimed with a message from Earth. The Galactic Council had formally recognized humanity as the designated first contact species for high-risk communication scenarios. It was an honor that came with significant responsibility, but Alex knew his people were ready for the challenge. "Ready for tomorrow's expedition briefing?" Tom asked, entering the observation deck with the next day's mission parameters. Alex smiled as he reviewed the coordinates for their next destination. Another world, another potential contact, another opportunity to prove that sometimes the most dangerous situations held the greatest rewards. The galaxy had learned that humans were not just another species, but the key to unlocking mysteries that had been waiting for someone crazy enough to try. "More than ready," Alex replied, looking out at the stars with anticipation. "Let's go find out what else is out there waiting for us." The title of their mission report would later become legendary throughout the galaxy. Only humans were mad enough to dominate these creatures. But those who had lived through the transformation understood that domination had nothing to do with conquest and everything to do with the courage to listen when everyone else was running away.